Here.
Buster?
Here.
Amber?
Here.
Shannon?
I'm used to my last.
Here. Jim?
Here.
Do we want to do our roll call? Can we do ours?
Oh, yeah,
We can do it. Hillary can do it.
are we taking two separate sets of
Well,
minutes?
she stopped, so I assume.
Should we do DDA's roll call as well, since it's all in the same public meeting?
Do you have their
Notice.
list? Or?
What is it John McGowan? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
John and
Hillary's writing it down
Okay,
right now
so,
for you. She's writing
Linda?
down names down.
Here.
Hillary? Here. Jerome?
Here.
Tarina? Here. Carrie?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
And then John is absent, right?
And Holly.
Holly sent in a message, she's with family, and then John I didn't hear from, did anyone else hear from John?
Yes, he's out for the week.
Okay,
Who could make a motion?
so
to exclude?
if you, we're not making any motions or voting on anything, I think that that's,
Oh, we don't have to worry about
Okay.
it? Okay.
yeah, it just goes in the minutes. If we can stand, if you're willing and able, to pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I gotta tell you, that was pretty cool hearing all those voices say
These chairs are boring now.
All right. So we're gonna open up this group discussion. Let's just try and be orderly.
If you want, Madam President, I've got some notes I can kind of like facilitate it
Absolutely.
if possible. And at any time, the chair can take over. I knew that we'd be covering a lot of stuff, so I kind of made some talking points, have some cheat sheets for everyone here. If the audio isn't great at home, this is kind of a working group. There's no mics on the table, so that the intent is not necessarily.
Oh, and actually, before you start, Tim, council, to make it clear, at the last meeting we were at with DDA, the DDA attorney said that we cannot make a demand of a dual role. So that is not something that can be used as leverage. So if it's going to be a consensus that they just want a DDA director, that is fine. This has to be about the person and only about the person for council's vote. Okay? All right, Tim, back to
And
you.
real quick, I think we have to do public comment at some point too.
Yep, I've
So
got
that's
it. It's on the agenda.
That's at the end.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is on the agenda.
And one,
Yeah.
since we got two chairs for the two boards, can either of them,
No, the presiding officer is
the
the
head
village
main,
president.
the highest
The
officer?
village president is the presiding officer for this.
Okay, I
Yes.
just asked to make sure somebody.
Yep, all right, so, again, as a reminder, for working groups or any kind of special meetings, we can only discuss the items that are actually on the agenda. The only item that's on the agenda is the discussion of this dual role. There's not gonna be any vote. It's really, for an open discussion between the two bodies to discuss this, because I know a lot of things have been happening individually, and both groups had expressed that they would like to talk together. So general rules, and these are just, I know that some people said they've never done working groups before, and they've never done this kind of thing, so I just wanted to kind of cover some of the general rules, usually when you're doing these kind of things. So we start with our shared purpose. Everyone just, we remember that everyone here wants a thriving downtown, we want a strong local economy, we want transparent governance, and we want an effective director in this role. And all of our discussions should support and lead to these shared goals. We want to respect each body's legal role. The council and DDA members should speak from their statutory role, not beyond it. Acknowledge DDA's focus on downtown district and PA 57 obligations. And the council should acknowledge their responsibility for village-wide policy and budget. We're going to speak from our own seats, not from someone else's. Members communicate with their board's perspective, not on behalf of other boards, staff, or residents, unless explicitly authorized. Avoid assuming motivations or positions of other members of bodies. One voice at a time, no interruptions. We're going to try to do it a little more casual. However, the chair has can recognize speakers to maintain order and ensure everyone is heard. We want to keep our comments focused on the topic. Stay within the agenda item. Avoid drifting into unrelated grievances or past issues unless directly relevant and constructive. We want to try to use I statements, which means we want to speak from our personal observations and experiences, and we want to avoid generalizations like everyone thinks or business owners believe. Talk from your own personal standpoint. Assume good intent. Enter the conversation with the mindset that all participants are contributing in good faith. Avoid assigning blame or negative emotions or motives. Be solutions oriented. Identify issues, but always pair them with potential approaches or recommendations. Avoid getting stuck on problems without exploring options. Clarify before challenging. If something is unclear, ask questions first. Like, help me to understand. Should I proceed? I disagree. Data and documents over anecdotes. When possible, let's rely on our PA 57 requirements, the job description, the master plan, budget constraints, TIF plans and goals. This keeps the discussion factual rather than anecdotal. Respect the staff roles, the village manager, myself, Lisa. We can provide our administrative interpretations, but we should not be asked like directly. I mean, it should be the conversation, should be amongst the boards. Operational disputes should not be really hashed out within this meeting. Be honest and acknowledge our capacity and limitations. Recognize that the director is one person that might be serving two bodies. The discussion should consider realistic workload and expectations. I know we have our own, priorities, but we want to make sure we acknowledge other people's points of views and acknowledge what those limitations might be. No surprises. Like I said, we have to stick to the published agenda. Save new topics for future meetings unless everyone agrees. Well, not even if everyone agrees to take them up. We need to just stay on this agenda. We need to seek alignment, but we probably won't ever get to total uniformity. The goal is not to have identical viewpoints, but a shared path forward when we're done with this. Consensus where possible, clear documentation of disagreements when necessary. And then we want to try to end with clear expectations on the next step. So we want to determine what was agreed upon, what remains unresolved, who's responsible for follow-ups, what the next touch point is if we get to that point. And so, I've kind of gone through some I've got some like notes for everyone to kind of use or scratch on. I've taken some of the problems that were brought to me by the DDA or council, and I've kind of boiled them down into talking points to kind of start the conversation in different areas, if we'd like. You can also just completely scrap this and go whatever direction the chair wants to go or the boards want to go. But I figured at least I would give some kind of structure to this as we move forward, if that is all right with everyone. And so the first point that I kind of wanted to talk about or bring up was with this role, the alignment with statutory DDA obligations or PA57 compliance. So, this job description will make the DDA directly responsible for directing the DDA activities under state law, providing regular reports to the DDA board, managing the budgets, financial reports, maintaining the DDA website, and public informational compliance, attending all DDA meetings. And I know we're going to be all over the place here because we're going to want to talk about different things, but the talking point with this is, will adding village-wide initiatives dilute the capacity to maintain these requirements and provide accuracy and meet all the deadlines? Because that was one thing that was brought up several times by DDA members, like, can someone do all of this additional work? And I figure that's just a great starting point if you guys wanted to discuss.
All right, who wants to kick this one off? I see a hand, Daniel?
Yep. This is the council and DDA, of course. Do you guys want, I think I can answer that way, just a DDA role only? No dual, right?
We're just following the agenda.
Well,
We haven't voted on that.
I'm just trying to see what everybody's feelings are before you try to vote on something.
But I mean, maybe Councilmember Wendell has a point. If you felt like it's a more effective way to start, is maybe you could start at where everyone is currently sitting at the table, like just briefly, like your initial thoughts. I mean, that could be a place you could start.
Because for me, I feel it should be right now, no dual role. You guys have been without a director for long enough. I think we need just to get one in there to release the workload, release the stress on everybody. And then maybe next year we can reevaluate everything when their contract comes back up. That's just my personal suggestion, but I don't know how. I don't want to step on anyone's toes or make anybody feel like I'm pushing anything on them at all like that. But
Let's take a circle around then. Hillary?
I like the idea of having a DDA some of the items that the director was responsible for before our committees have taken on, which would allow them the time that they need to possibly, focus more on the economic development and maybe, appeal to candidates that have more experience with economic development, possibly.
Lester?
I've got to agree that we do have to start getting a DDA director in. Another thing I would like to see though, once that's done, is start to talk about dual.
Jim?
Thank you. I think the issue I see is we always hear he's a one-man shop. And I think there's ways we can fund a dual role. We can release workload from him. And I think one of the big selling points is, I was talking with someone else, I don't remember who I was talking with. They had mentioned anything you want to do in the village for the DDA, you've got to go through him anyway. So they're going to be working very closely with Tim anyway. So I think it makes sense to do a dual role situation, so.
Serena?
I stated this before, that I think that the amount of work that they already have to do, this is not enough money. I don't think we would get anybody who actually is very qualified. So if they also had to do other things for the village, so I would think that if they were willing to do an assistant or to pay to double the salary and then they pay for half the salary for the extra work, I think that would be good. But as it stands, for this amount of money, this is a DDA position. And I think that, in a year, and let me just ask this, in a year, if we've talked about a dual role, could there be an increase in pay for them if we decided to do that? Is that, that they could have a big bump in salary?
Shannon?
So I do think that, I agree with Trina that this is not the right amount of money for a dual role, but I do think the dual role is the direction that I would like to see happen. In my experience and research, I do think that, agreed. I don't know how we offer someone a contract for 1 year as a DDA director and then be like, guess what, next year we're gonna totally revamp it. You might be out, you might not be out. So I think the planning should go one way or the other at that, because if we hire someone that's a DDA director at 55,000, but we really want a dual role that they should be making 80, we are not doing justice to anybody. And I am sorry, I think that this should have been taken care of well before I got appointed, or should we have had these discussions in July and August? 100%. So I think everybody in the room is on the same page with that. I think that we need to get you guys somebody, but I think we need to do it intentionally. My thoughts on this were that given that the village, and I can be wrong on this, but given that the village is a larger employer, they have access to different types of benefits, healthcare and things like that. A healthcare package that currently our employees get is awesome. It is a great package and it's not out of pocket for your DDA director. So that would save the money that would be going towards medical, dental, vision, and those kind of things to bump up the salary. So I do think there's wiggle room in that to be able to do it. My vision for that economic director, in a perfect world, would be to do mostly DDA things, but we have businesses that sit outside of the DDA district that could benefit from maybe their grant writing skills, some economic development. And I think it's a perfect partnership between the village and the DDA. Am I married to it? No. I'm not a business owner in the downtown DDA district. So I am absolutely open to hear what other people say. But as someone who's kind of looked at like your TIF plans and where things are going, I think you guys have great ideas and I think you have huge plans, and I think it's gonna incorporate someone who might need to make more than 55,000 a year.
gone down this road. I don't think it has to be in a year, maybe it can be further down the road, but getting somebody in place, I think is the most important matter at the moment, and looking in the future with a plan for a dual role. I just don't think it's enough money to hire someone in for that role.
Amber?
Yes. Again, like Shannon, I'm not really married to any one idea. However, I have been doing research on dual roles, and as somebody whose job it is to advocate for our taxpayers and to make smart financial choices, I think a dual role will help us best in that. And I think somebody in the office with village staff can help advocate for the DDA as well. I agree with the salary not being enough, but I think that there are ways that we can pitch into that. And I think if we really want somebody who is good at grant writing, who does have experience with economic development, we're going to have to pitch in more as a village, and we can figure that out. Dave?
Hey, from my perspective, the DDA, we have to get our house in order. I mean, that's priority number one. And it's just been neglected for so long, and I think that's actually created a lot of the perceptions. Pardon?
Turf war?
Well, it just, I think it certainly hasn't helped with some of the perceptions.
I'm sorry, Tim, could you put the other points back up for while we're having discussion?
Oh, sorry.
So that the DDA and council can maintain those? Thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, again, just with the perceptions of what everyone's intent is, I think's been somewhat muddied by that. I firmly believe that to be the healthiest organization, if you look at us collectively trying to work for this village, is that we collaborate, we communicate, and there should be a very strong working relationship with the village manager, and the council. I do not support any formal reporting relationship that's dual, though. Serving two bosses, from my experience, just doesn't work. So, just my initial thoughts.
Thomas?
My thoughts on it, I am personally against the dual role. I feel like a lot of these responsibilities that are in here are already being served by the village staff. I mean, even when we did our interviews for village manager, one of the things we looked for was grant writing. So I feel like having another person in here doing that, doing some of these other things on here that our village department heads and staff already do, I think there's just too much overlap on it, that we're just paying for the same services a second time. And we're already scraping by as it is to look for money to spend for stuff. And we just spent over 20 grand on a software system or an Excel spreadsheet for looking at our finances. Like, I feel like we need to give that a try first before we even think about hiring another employee to do more of that stuff for us.
Jerome?
Yes, I feel, I've had these conversations previously, as some of you may or may not know. Linda and I met with Tim and talked about a lot of this early on, and I still stand firm in my personal opinion, and that is, we need a DDA director. Economic development is a large part of what a DDA director can and should be doing. I don't know that we've had a lot of that in our past directors, for whatever the structure may be or whatever, but I feel that the council and the DDA board are now in a different mindset, and I think economic development is definitely where we need to go to help grow the community and grow the tax base and grow revenue and all the things that come with that. And I feel a DDA director is responsible for part of that. I don't know that it needs to be a dual role, because right now, as I've discussed previous conversations, let's start with the DDA boundaries, because I don't know that we've done a lot about economic development in the past, and let's start somewhere. Let's start with a DDA director, let's start with someone that has economic development experience, and let's focus on the DDA boundaries. As you know, we can't spend our monies outside of our DDA boundaries. So let's get that up city, who knows? And then we can maybe be to the point where we just have an economic development person, and hire that person to just focus on that. That would include the whole village at that point, or city. So I just feel that a lot of what I'm hearing people wanting a DDA director, economic development director to do is already in the job description for a DDA director. And I think we should just hire a DDA director, move forward. Yes, there's partnership. Yes, there's collaboration. Yes, they will be working closely with our village manager and our clerk treasurer to deal with all the things. But I think that's the biggest missing piece right now is let's get a DDA director. Let's put that in the job description, hire someone at what we can currently afford to pay, and take us down the path as far as we can go until we're all more financially fluid and can do something better and continue to grow. And let's start working together instead of against each other.
Thank you. Linda?
Well, being last, everything has kind of been said, but I echo a lot of what Jerome said. I do think that we need a DDA director. We need somebody to get our house in order, to help us get caught up on a lot of things, to help us with grants. I'm not aware of a lot of the economic development opportunities right now outside of the DDA district. And I do believe that if we really focus them on the DDA district, we are gonna help the village. And, you know, if we can grow revenue and grow tax base in that area, it helps everybody. So I really think we need to be focused on that. But again, economic development is a pillar. It's one of the 4 pillars of our DDA director and a huge part of the responsibility. So let's just make sure that they're working on the things that the village wants them to work on in the DDA district. We really have to be careful in making sure that we're following the law. Yes, it's nice to offer in kind with benefits, but that's not enough. It has to be a financial portion. So, I mean, something we can definitely look at in the future. If we hire an assistant DDA director, then maybe this person can spend more time on areas outside of the DDA if the village is contributing toward that salary.
Okay. I think one of the first things we have to tend to is getting the burden off of some of these subcommittees. We've got people that are overworked. All I really care is that we have a qualified applicant with good references. We don't offer enough money to pay for a good DDA director, not to mention a dual role. But I think if we move some things around in the budget, if the DDA's got, I think the DDA's got enough in there to ramp it up a little bit. You know, I would guess 80 to 95. I think I'd want something to give us, you know, look around at other comparable communities to base it off of. But I don't think 55 to 70 is enough, even just for a DDA director. I think it's obviously the consensus of DDA that they want a DDA director, and I don't think that we, the council, should stand in the way of that. I agree with Shannon that it is, I mean, in my opinion, a terrible idea to say we're gonna look at revamping the idea of the rule in a year, because we're telling you we're gonna hire you for 1 year and then see you later. Yeah, but you had said something, Jerome, about maybe hiring a separate employee down the road. I don't know if we've got the budget for that, but I mean, either way, I think that we really have to look at that wage, and let's be deliberate. Let's pick something and stick to our plan. So, Tim, with hearing what we're hearing, and knowing that we can only talk about what's on the agenda, is it appropriate or inappropriate to discuss a job posting for just a DDA director? DDA director is on here, but it also says the dual role.
You guys can discuss it, right? But you can't vote to do anything.
Right.
That's the key of it. You can discuss, you know, the position and all of that. Let me see how it's written. Yes, the job description specifically is that. I mean, if the DDA comes out of this meeting with the kind of the consensus understanding that that's the direction that council's leaning, then they kind of know where they should go, you know, based on at their next meeting or special meeting, wherever they're going, so they can do the appropriate actions by vote that is needed. And similarly with council, if it were to be, you know, if council has that understanding, DDA moves forward, they know
so I actually have the job description
The
for
previous one?
for the
Yeah.
director that we approved.
Mhm.
So
Do you have
maybe,
enough
could you
copies?
like to could you possibly make us some copies so we can look over it? And then maybe you guys can tell us where we're lacking on economic development. Or what you would like to see in addition to what we already have, you know?
Yeah, thank you for bringing those.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Daniel?
On the work group session, how Tim had said, it does say that. Should it have been / non-dual role instead of just saying a dual role? So we could have covered them both?
I think it does say, yeah, I mean, downtown development director is on there, so I don't think that we're,
But it
Yeah.
does say dual role, so that's what we gotta stick to.
Well, you can-
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
slash.
it's just, we're just talking about the first side of the.
I'm just saying, so that we follow inside the guidelines.
I think the fact that it just says slash doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's a
so,
dual, right?
yeah, Daniel, I think the impression, the interpretation that most of us have is that we are limited to what is on here, and it doesn't have to be everything on here. So if we wanted to, let's say we were doing the dual role, and we wanted to take some things out that were previously in the old dual role job posting, that would be okay.
Mhm.
If we want to take out the dual role and do just the DDA director, it sounds like everyone's interpreting it like, that's okay. Tim's nodding.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
because I'm going-
no, we've never voted on actually having a dual role or anything like that. And I think the intent was to kind of hash out those expectations. And so that is, I think that the intent of it was to have this discussion and kind of lean which way we wanted to go as a group. And I think that everyone kind of came in with that understanding.
That's why I asked the
That's a
question.
good question that's gonna that's the kind of stuff we should be asking to keep us in line with making sure we're doing right in the order of the law, in the eyes of the law. So, good
That's all.
question, Daniel.
No problem, that's why I just wanted to make sure because of what Tim had said.
Yeah.
However, all my good work goes out the window, but that's good. Makes the meeting go faster.
Where's that little violin?
I will, so one of the things while Lisa's making those copies, we did talk in-kind services a little bit. And so like the things that are not all of this is being charged to the DDA now, but it may be in the future, and that's another discussion we're gonna have at a later date. But as part of this, the job description was, so the administrative management services that, my time, the clerk treasurer's time, administrative staff, building official, when we're doing HR work, all that, DPW's maintenance of downtown infrastructure, snow removal, seasonal support, trash removal, general labor, like again, some of it's charged, some of it's not. Event support, all the events that are going on, barriers, things like that. The
And we
administrative-
should talk about those, and we should have a potential
Oh,
service agreement.
Exactly. yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's, I think staff recommends a cost sharing memorandum on that. So yeah, we were talking about the same stuff. And then again, the meeting space that is utilized, the office space, conference room, storage, utilities, administrative support, insurance, retirement, IT communications, legal assistance as appropriate, all of those things. So those are things that I understand that you're looking at a budget, you're looking at things, but these are things that are not necessarily being yet charged to the DDA, but these are things during the budget sessions that we've all talked about that will be coming towards you guys. Just
Yeah, if we could get
Yeah.
whatever your thinking is on that before we start those budget discussions.
Yep.
Because then we can make decisions too,
Yep.
from a
Absolutely.
board perspective on that,
so.
on those items.
Jerome?
To that point, as I have shared with you in the past, we have asked you for these numbers already, and we haven't gotten anything. And so the sooner we could get something, I'd hate for it to come before us just before budget time, and you say, well, this is what it is. Because I will tell you that legally, we have the opportunity to shop them out
Yeah.
as well. And I only
Exactly, I mean.
And we had people doing it that actually understood the plans. So, you know, you had professionals. So there's options here that we can work through. We just can't wait till last minute for those numbers, because we have to have time to search that out.
Yeah, because I have seen, so in my experience, a lot of DDAs will have an annual contract with the village. So
Absolutely.
what we do,
Absolutely.
what we
Service
don't do,
agreement.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of them are yearly, some of them are by,
Yeah,
however you
all
want. So
that.
yeah, you could break all that down.
Yeah, we had the same thing for holiday decorating, because we actually had DPW doing the holiday decorating around town, putting the lights up and all that kind of thing. We already are moved beyond that with having an outside company. But maybe down the road, DPW will have enough staff that they'll want to bid back on that and say, hey, well, we just as soon do it. We have the staff here, and we can hang lights in September.
Let's bring the conversation back to the, today's contract. So, initial thoughts on what we're looking at here. Does anyone have anything?
Well, so from what I heard a lot of people say is that the salary that is currently being, I guess you could say, proposed or whatever, is kind of low. And I would have to say, just from what I see that goes on with the, yeah, very low. I would say probably, I would have to say, start out at the 70,000, maybe to 85,000. Just because, I mean, depending on their experience, you know.
think we have to be careful too, because I believe in the TIP plan, they only have 70K budgeted for a director. So I don't know exactly how that would work with you guys, how you could adjust that.
It
but-
broke down to $75,000 a year, but that was over was it a 20-year plan?
20 years.
20-year plan.
Yeah.
So if they were doing lower now, that would just mean the person that gets here 20 might get a lot of money. I don't know.
It also said with a 3% annual increase, so it's a 5-year, I mean,
Okay.
5 years ago, it was, you know, we're 5 years into this plan, so
Then
if you
it's
have the
suggesting
3%
around
for the
75 grand a
5
year
years, then we're.
Also, the TIP plan is just a guide, it's just a guideline. It can change for economic circumstances. There's a wide variety of things how you can, it's just a guideline. So it's not like a hard, oh, you have to do this.
But we do, at this point, only have $70,000 in our budget, so.
Sure.
We would, yes, we have the money in our budget, and we could increase that, we'd have to do a vote and a budget amendment.
And your TIF plan doesn't include it just gives that number, but it doesn't include any, like medical stuff. That benefits package has gotta come out of that too, so.
And that's budgeted for separately as well.
Right, in
Yeah.
your budget line,
Yeah.
we do. So when we were coming up with that 75,000 though, that is just off of that TIF plan line. It's like so much over 20 years, it doesn't account for that. So you may have to amend it, but.
So, I remember when you were doing, you were reviewing applications last time, looking at the job qualifications. And it was, seemed to be the consensus of the DDA, kind of like Ari was just suggesting about the TIP plan, that it's a guideline. Because we didn't have a lot of these things fulfilled for a lot of the applicants. So, these job qualifications, do we mean it, or is this just something we're saying?
You know, it's hard to find somebody that's gonna check every single box, it really is. Responsibilities, qualifications.
Yeah, I
What
hope
are
it
the
wouldn't
main
be,
ones
if
that
we
you guys
raised
do?
that, one at a time, please, no side talk. If we were to raise that, I don't know that it would be so difficult. I know we mentioned before, you know, if you're putting 50 grand out there, yeah, you might not get somebody with a bachelor's and several years' experience. But if you're talking 80, I would hope that they would have at least a bachelor's and a couple years' experience. $80,000.
It's a ton of money
That's a lot of money.
No, it is.
compared to what the revenue is.
Well, realistically, the bachelor's degree or whatever is the really only hard qualification. Everything else is very kind of vague. Knowledge of governmental budgeting, skill in developing and fostering public relations. Like,
Yeah.
that's not like, oh, you need a PR degree, you
Yes.
And training people could have been a, one-year project. So that's, another expense to incur, or you can just, hopefully spend a little more money and get someone that knows what they're doing.
Do we have to like raise our hand? Or is it like, may I speak? I would like to see them either have the degree or, for sure, either have the degree or the equivalent experience. I mean, that's pretty common, in jobs, cause like, I might, like, I don't have a degree, but I might apply for a job because I have 20 years of experience in the field, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, either or on that would be for sure imperative, if we're not, I mean, cause if we have somebody that has, for example, the 5 years of experience, and maybe we start them at the lower end, I don't know.
I kind of agree. As I get older, I put less and less emphasis on our, secondary education in the degrees, even though I have 8 years of college. And at that time, everybody thought you had to have a master's to do things. I'm finding now that there's only 30% maybe jobs out there that you really need a degree for. And the rest were just wasting a lot of money and student loans and so forth. And so if the person has the capacity to learn and they have been doing a job that is very similar and maybe they just have a 2-year degree, I mean, I put more value on what they're able to do and what they've proven that they could do than the fact that they have a 4-year degree in medieval studies somewhere. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I think to your point, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'd also think that somebody with that kind of experience, we're looking for somebody that's economic development. You're not gonna come out at 22 years old because you read a couple books and think that you know how that works. So, I mean, I think there needs to be a little bit of emphasis on education as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think public administration is a field that's particularly difficult and some things you, need to be taught by the experts.
I'm gonna raise my hand for a minute.
Go ahead, Shannon.
And just reading through this, I agree. I mean, at times, and I work in education, so I'm all about the degrees, but, there's practical knowledge, but I would like to see somebody or somewhere in here list project management, right? Because you guys need a project manager on top of all of this with like the different things you're asking people to come through. It could be a project management certificate. Maybe they've taken the test, they've got their license on that, and that could very well be your, in lieu of a degree. 5 years experience in this field with no background on economic development and public administration and stuff, you're still really getting your feet wet.
So Hillary, did you guys revise this, or was this the previous job posting?
This is the previous, posting, it hasn't been revised at all. So I mean, if we need to make changes,
With your experience, your NF experience with having to pick up some of the slack of not having a DDA director or having interims that weren't doing what we might have been
There's also then reporting with regards to grants. So it's not just applying for grants, but it's
Grant
then-
management,
it's-
yes.
Yeah, it's maintaining all the
So-
required reporting.
And as we've learned, I mean, I still don't know all of this PA 57 and, I mean, we've learned quite a bit, but for them to have that knowledge of deadlines for submitting the paperwork that we need, compliance with getting reports to council, you know, the stuff that, we need somebody that knows all of the things, so that that there's not anything getting overlooked as far as that goes, because I think that it would keep a more transparent and fluid relationship between us if we, you know, have that.
How do you guys feel about, in attracting some different level of candidates, how do you feel about doing like hybrid schedules or offering like certain things? Like, is that something you could add to this to just to advertise?
You mean hybrid as far as where they
Some
work?
could be work from home,
Oh.
some could be work
Days,
from
yeah.
however, you know, 3 days a week because you're working the weekend. Like, a flexible schedule is a great selling point. for
Yeah,
a lot of
I think we would set a certain minimum of time that we would expect them to be in the office or in the DDA district. But I think with all of our candidates so far, we have been more than willing to work with that because we
Yeah.
know that's the day and age now.
It's where we are.
It's where we are.
But if we can add that, you're gonna pull in people.
And
It
I
is-
also think that if we do vote to raise the salary and we move some money, I think we might have a better opportunity of poaching a current DDA director from another municipality, which then they come in already with some experience and knowledge that you don't have to have that, initial period where they're ramping up. They come in and hit the ground running.
At this point, we really need somebody that can hit the ground running at this point, so
Well, that's the
hopefully,
roadmap.
hopefully we
a
find-
DDA,
hopefully we
DDA director
find
that's
somebody.
working that can like find out how much he's making and offer him more.
That's
And
one
we
way to do
did
it.
interview a few
I'm
of them.
kidding.
No, we did interview a few.
or there might be like an assistant DDA director that's
Yeah.
looking to further their career,
Sure.
you know? That would be my target.
So the
base.
hybrid piece, I want to be real careful with. We've had complaints with several, a couple, how many we had two, of the interims about accountability and not being present, not being available for staff and not doing the things that the DDA has asked them to do.
Now,
So,
on the flip side of that, the office is closed on Friday.
and
So-
yeah, a 3-day weekend, a 4-day work week is kind of a cool benefit, but, well, the DDA directors are expected to work on
different.
weekends and everything
Yeah.
too, though, so that's not really.
I don't think you have to hire anybody that you have to micromanage. I wouldn't wanna go into
Right.
it that way.
Yeah, but accountability, if they're gonna be around, if they're gonna be available.
I'd like to maybe work into a hybrid position, because at this point, we need somebody with feet on the ground visiting our businesses. I mean, we've got a major, we've got a lot of ground to cover as far as getting back the, you know, and incorporating the north end, the midtown, all of the things, and so maybe we could do like a 90-day
The 90-day,
something,
yeah,
and then,
that's perfect,
you know,
that's a great
because
idea.
I mean, or maybe even a 6-month, because it's gonna take, I mean, it's really important to me that we have somebody going around physically talking with our business owners, because that's what everybody's accustomed to with our past DDA directors. And they can't do that if they're in Berkeley.
DDA, how do you feel about the tryout timeframe, whatever that is, 90 days, 6 months?
Are you talking about a,
If you hire someone, have a probationary
probationary?
period, yeah.
Common.
yeah.
It's a at-will position anyway, so, I mean, 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever.
That's true.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
In regard to the remote position, Shannon was talking about it, I think that Lisa and I's biggest frustration has been with the interim people just not being present. And it's hard for us to, you know, do initiatives together when we might see them once a week for an hour or so, or two, and that's all we see them. And, you know, so having them around, and also the frustration I've heard from the DDA is that they're not present in the businesses, or they're not in the north end. So to give them the option, especially if they're living in Ferndale and they're working here, if they're working remote from Ferndale, you know, I mean, maybe they can fill out some of the PA 57 requirements, but I think having someone present, especially for that initial period, the 6 months a year, I think is paramount.
What is
I would like them to be available, similar to staff, and just Monday through Thursday. Obviously, they could flex, when they have events on the weekends and all of that. But that doesn't mean they have to be in the office necessarily. They should be in the community doing their job. Like even I probably spend 35% of my time like in the community doing things. And so I would expect them to even maybe do more than that.
But
be out
in
there.
the
But they're
area
in the DDA.
available.
Yeah, in the DDA.
In Holly, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
no. Yeah,
so we're not
I'm in
really
Oakland County, I'm
offering
in,
a
I'm in a lot of other
Right.
places, so.
If they worked remote on Fridays when the village offices are closed to catch up on like the clerical stuff, the PA 57, possibly, hopefully writing grants and, I would be fine with that, but I mean, we definitely need somebody that's gonna be around here full-time and getting acclimated with our business owners and like feet on the ground is a big thing for me right now.
Jerome?
So then we need to make sure that we're clear on that, we're not offering a hybrid position, because it sounds like we want someone in the office at least 4 days a week. And this position needs to have access to the office on Friday, because if I was in that role, I would love it to come in and do my work on a day where it's quiet.
Yeah.
And that's what Nick used to do.
I'd also like to say though that working remotely on Fridays probably wouldn't work as a DDA director just because that is when most of our events are. That's when most of the times that we want them downtown doing stuff.
Right.
Well, and maybe they could just come to Holly later in the day, because those events do run pretty late, but they don't
Tim?
necessarily.
I just think in the office, when you're talking, in the office is the district. I mean,
Oh.
they should be in the district, during, 4 days a week or whatever, or for their 40 hours.
I understand,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Daniel?
You just said 40 out before, I was gonna ask, what estimation hours are we trying to put them at a week? Because I did a rough estimate just now, like if we did 72.5 at 55 hours a week, they'd be $13.94 before taxes a week.
I think everyone here is thinking 40 hours a week is what we're going
Right.
for.
So if we were
Well,
requiring
I'm just saying, so, because they do, like an event,
on a weekend,
on
you're
a
saying?
weekend or something like that, because I know not Tim, but, Nick, right, yeah, Nick. He was at every event, and it was sometimes he put 9 or 10 hours in. And he'd still do his time up here.
That's why we need to trust our department heads to be able to do their work-life balance and be able to, know that, hey, if I'm working, for example, next week, although we have Friday off and it's, a holiday for us, I'll still be working Dickens, the lighted parade and such. And so, utilizing comp time and all of those things and knowing, like maybe Monday I'll be hunting or something like that, so.
And again, it's having that trust in your employees and, not micromanaging them, but monitoring, trust but verify, that they're putting in the time and that, we know ahead of time, before the week, what their schedule's gonna be. And, if we don't have any events, then we expect them 40 hours in the district. Yeah.
Well, we don't have any events until February, so we've got a little bit of time.
So,
I used to be able to say until May, but.
DDA and
We're fast
council,
approaching
is there anything else in here that you'd like to see adjusted?
Not necessarily in here, but maybe as procedural. So I know 3 times you've offered positions to people, and each time those all got shut down for whatever reason. Did you not have a second and third? I mean, it's pretty standard procedure in hiring that you have somebody as a backup. We did that when we hired the village manager and Lisa. We had 1, 2, 3, so that if that first person did not make it, we had a backup so that we weren't sitting here again for 3 months, coming up with more, paperwork and things to do. I think I would advise that be pretty standard procedure if we go forward on this, to have a couple different options so that we're not in this position again.
Jerome?
Our role in this is a little different, Amber, and that is, when you folks were hiring someone, you were the final say. We're not the final say because our choice has to come before council. That is what causes the because it's gonna take a month or two to go through the process. It's not, because I can't say, okay, well, we're gonna call you if this one doesn't work out in 2 months. You know, I mean, we could, but it's a little different, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I understand what you're saying, and I do agree with what you're saying, but our process is a little different because it's so dragged out. Because by the time we do the interviews, and then make a board vote and select, and then it has to go to council for approval, there's some time down the line here. And so it stretches it out a little bit.
That could be
longer.
shrunk, we can do special meetings. So we can just hold a special meeting and then vote out.
If you're willing to do that, that would help facilitate it.
Yeah, not this
But
month,
that
but
does
ordinarily
happen.
it would be.
Yeah, that happens in my line of work too. The
Yeah.
Board of Education is the final say, so the people do go up and get shot down.
Mhm.
And they are able to say, hey, we're gonna put Shannon as first for the Spanish teacher, Jim's our second. That's what they bring up. If they vote me down, Jim is right there to take it. So that is something that can be done. I think we wanna expedite it for you
Yeah,
guys.
okay.
So if that's like a way that we can motion.
The special
it-
meeting's a great option.
Yeah,
Right.
however we can motion it for you for whatever reason, just to not do this again.
You could do a joint special meeting where
Yeah.
you're voting, after you guys have gone through the candidate selection, where you have your ideal candidate and you vote on it, you could have a joint special meeting where you're both voting at the same time. You know, the DDA would vote, and then immediately following, council would have an agenda item where they would vote on it, on the same thing, so that everyone's in the same room.
So it would be expedited. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
expedited. As well, additionally, I was gonna let you know, so, you know, as of doing my job, I went to, like, a couple weeks ago, I went to the Main Street Downtown Authority conference, just their networking event. I gave out my cards, you know, for that. I've also been talking to other managers, and so I already have like 3 or 4 candidates that are, you know, regardless of which way we run the roll, that they would be interested, that we could probably put them, they'd probably submit their applications right away, regardless of if it's in whatever role capacity. So I am hoping that we'll have some pretty good candidates, like, right off the bat, for this, so.
Would that be at the salary currently, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was based on, like, I'm going to the, every month, or every, like, quarter, we have, all the Oakland County managers get together, and I had someone text me today, that said they had 2 candidates they wanted to bring up and talk to me about tomorrow at our luncheon. So, you know, and I kind of shared, like, hey, this is like the history of it, this is exactly, you know, what it was before, we don't know where we're going, but this is the approximate price point, so.
Okay, Hillary, and then we're gonna get back on topic here.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, I wasn't a part of the executive committee for the later one, but the one that I was a part of, honestly, I mean, we put the best that we had forward, and there wasn't really a good.
Well,
it
you know
was
what, we're
just
not, point of order, we're not supposed to discuss, previous decisions either
Oh.
tonight. Let's get
Sorry,
back
I
on.
wasn't on that path.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's get back on, target here. Council and DDA, is there anything else on here that you'd like to see adjusted, added, taken out? Thomas?
I think this job description is very wordy. Like, it almost goes into describing what the different committees are. And if I was applying for a job, I see something that long, I have to scroll through and read all that, I'm probably just gonna apply for the next town over for their position.
Well, I can
So is there a way
trim
we
it
can,
down.
like, yeah, shrink that down? I mean,
Yeah.
at the bottom, you already have it, other jobs as needed or whatever, so.
I don't know, is this typical for DDA job postings?
Well, I mean,
We did look at a number of them at the time that we put this together, and we kind of
Based
put
on
together, the best, but I'm sure we can, because this isn't everything either, you
Right,
know,
right,
and so,
right.
yeah, and you're right, because if I get a resume that looks like this.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, most job seekers are applying, if they're looking for jobs, applying to like 10, 15 places almost daily. And they're gonna find an easier one to look at, they're gonna start applying for the ones that they can see easier.
Okay, thank you.
I can, trim it down if you guys want. And then, on the qualifications, Amber, do you have anything specific that you would like us to be more?
No, I
You
didn't
know, like,
say vague as though that was a bad thing, so if that was a perception, no.
Oh,
I didn't mean that
okay.
as a bad thing, it just means like, you know, it's pretty broad, so people
Right.
could find different things and say, oh, this could fit under
Right.
promoting leadership
might reword in the job demands and work environment, the crouch or crawl and taste or smell, and then at least use the Oxford commas in there, because it changes the meaning.
Okay.
So,
Commas matter.
yeah.
Crawling taste. But I do like, and the other one that Tim passed out, he does specifically say proven project management skills with a track record of successful project delivery, because somebody in this job does have to be able to work a project from start to end.
So, yeah, I'm looking at
Yeah.
that whole sentence now, and I'm thinking it can be physically demanding might be a better way to word that whole area.
The one with taste
Oh,
and
at the
smell.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use hands and fingers.
Yeah, some of that is like standard
Yeah.
legalese,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do the same thing at our
Do
work
you?
about what we
Yeah.
obtain.
Yeah,
You
okay,
gotta
so
go
I
like
can
this.
revamp
Drive a car.
definitely this, yeah.
It's, yeah, what you gotta put in there nowadays.
I know, the only thing that I don't see that, like I brought up before, you guys said a 40-hour work week, but nowhere in here does it state any kind of amount of hours. You just got an annual salary.
Okay.
That's kind of how annual salaries
Well,
work.
I think is that.
Again, I
kinda
think that might be
deliberate?
deliberate.
Yeah, because sometimes it might, on occasion, our employees for the village have a 100-hour work week. Sometimes things happen.
Right.
So that's why it's salary.
Yeah, and then they'll make it up on like the next week, take a little extra time.
Right.
Yeah, cause we're not paying overtime.
Right.
Yeah.
Lisa's waiting for that day to happen.
I mean, just putting it out there of what
You
the
can have Thanksgiving off.
approximation hours could be, might help, with the candidate, because they could be walking into it, be like, oh, well, I'm only working 40 hours a week, and next thing you know, they're getting hit with.
Again, I think we're looking for somebody who's got experience, so they would know a roundabout number on what they were going to be doing.
I think the title director leans to that too.
Yeah.
If you're doing something like.
I mean, I gave you guys that in 55 hours, and everybody shot me out back saying 40 hours. So, I mean, that's what you guys say, 40 hours, that's what I'm gonna hold you guys to is 40 hours for your director.
Or you could not be specific at all and tell them that they're expected to get their job done right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like you're arguing against your own point.
I do that all the
I
time,
mean,
but
it's amazing to watch, but
maybe last, sink that ship.
All right.
Okay, does everyone kind of feel like we're all on the same page?
We have our meeting set on Thursday, and, can you have something for us to review?
Yeah,
Okay.
and if anybody has any suggestions, I mean, should we have them go to Jennifer, the DDA director, or, I don't know.
Should we what?
Like, if anybody has any direct suggestions of what they would, like, if they take it home and they want, okay,
do it right now.
Yeah.
okay, so there's no more feedback then?
So my take is, I think we have a really good opportunity, we being the Village of Holly, and I'm including the DDA in that, to bring someone in that can help Tim. And I don't really want to highlight problems that have happened, but mistakes have happened, they're nothing serious, but there's been stuff that's been overlooked. He said he doesn't want to pass on the grunt work to someone else to do. Well, I think that's really what we need, is someone to do the grunt work that he doesn't want to do. And the DDA will benefit, the village will benefit, and to Mr. Ryan's point about us spending $20,000 on a survey and whatnot, we don't, technically, we would be paying for it, but technically, we wouldn't be paying for it because we could do the in-kind services. So there wouldn't be a net cost coming out of the general fund. And I think to Mr., look at your name here because I was going to say the wrong name, Mr. Raskis' point about the delay. I had brought up, let's see if we could do meetings twice a month. We had that 5-hour meeting, and staff's response was, it's just going to be too much work, we can't do two meetings twice a month. And I think if we have someone else willing to help, and someone else that can help, everything's just going to be more fluid anyway. The point about having two bosses, everything already goes through him for the DDA. So you want DPW, you're going through him. You want to close streets down, him. So everything already goes through him.
If a dual role were to be considered, they don't have to have two bosses. They can work with Tim and, report to DDA. I think that was how, we had it worded like that on one
seem weird to wait a year and then say, well, let's do
Yeah, I
that.
don't know if that's
So,
the consensus.
It seems to me that what you really want is an assistant.
Absolutely. And a
I
DDA
feel like,
director.
I feel like you could get so much done with an assistant that you guys could have too, Mr. Price. I mean, that's just what it sounds like to do. You just literally said you want to get rid of some of the grunt work. And our DDA director deserves our respect and not to have to do grunt work. That is my feeling.
So my suggestion would be, take a look at Fenton. That's how Fenton does it. They have an assistant manager that is paid for by the DDA. So somehow they're able to make it work.
They have a
Lot
lot
more
more money
tip
than us.
money.
I agree, a lot more money.
I mean, the dual role is throughout the state. It's not something that, like, when I was thinking about it, I just pulled out of a hat. It is in South Lyon, it's in New Lathrop, it's all over the state of Michigan, all over Oakland County. There's a lot of dual roles. It's not unheard of. It's just, if it's not your consensus, it's not your consensus. But it's not some astronomical, like, disrespect to the
No,
DDA
I'm-
director.
And I'm not saying that is, I'm saying the way that you, or what you, I feel like you personally think that it is just an assistant. And I think that's disrespectful.
So I don't mean to come across that way. I just looked through here and there's nothing in here. And that's why I was saying, let's add something about there being some type of assistance for our manager. Now, whether or not that is the grunt work or whether that's some type of economic development or whatever it is, something so the entire village will benefit as well as the DDA as a whole.
Well, it's,
Can you describe the grunt work? Can you describe the grunt work that you want someone to do? Because I don't know what that
No,
means.
He doesn't want them to do it.
So, what I've explained in the past is that an assistant manager has, historically, having been an assistant manager, they almost always get, like, the complaints, you know, the hard to deal with because, you know, so the manager can prioritize stuff, but it's really hard, you know, and even if I went in there with the best intentions, I said, I would end up doing that too. I would hand off, like, the difficult people, the nuisances kind of thing. And that's why, rather than moving it forward with because originally it came to me as they wanted to be an assistant. And I said, well, I'd rather give it a narrower scope. I'd rather it be economic development so that at least they know where their parameters are. They're working towards economic development, whether it's in the DDA or within our community as a whole. So that's why I said, well, I can still work with that because I can still use that in many other ways. But then at least for myself and for the person, we would know what their scope of work would be on any given day. And so that's why I requested that it be shifted to economic development rather than an assistant manager position, out of respect for the DDA and the role.
Like I said before, when I was thinking dual role, I was thinking of, we have industry here in Howie that's outside the DDA district but could benefit from a director. There's businesses that are just not in the DDA district that could maybe benefit from that kind of a dual relationship. And if it was a way to take some of the burden off on like benefits packages and things like that to up their salary to get you qualified candidates, then helping a couple extra industries and different things to benefit the village didn't sound unheard of.
And you said that before, and and I want to make sure I clarify. I don't think that we can actually legally hire someone that is being paid by the DDA to work on non-DDA businesses.
Well, we would be paying for the benefits package.
No, hold on,
So that's in
no, first of all,
kind.
not everybody all at once. So, Shannon, you've got the floor.
So that's why we would be paying benefits packages and things like that. Then it's a dual role. They're benefiting from both village counter, city funds, taxes, and DDA taxes.
And
That was
further,
the initial thought.
was speaking with the attorney, there are ways to do it that are legal. If there's subcontracting your employee to the village, etc. There's ways to do things where, yes, it can be legal or it wouldn't be a consideration. And
Absolutely.
I think
I'm not
hard-
here to do
It's
legal
in
things.
PA 57, there's a whole, it's section 5 or section 1, I can bring it up in a minute. But basically, anybody who's an employee, which would be the DDA director, automatically can benefit from the benefits.
It says shall be eligible. That is the terminology, shall be eligible. Eligible, and shall, yeah.
all right, well, because us as council doesn't know every hour that the DDA director has to work with, correct?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, before we start trying to hammer out a dual role possible action, maybe we should ask them, how many hours is your DDA director gonna have to do visiting the businesses in the district itself? Making sure they do the grant writing for the group itself and everything. Are they gonna have extra time to tack on something more?
I would say that, so the answer to that is, I could stay here 24/7 and never run out of things to do. And a DDA director is gonna be very similar, and any one of our staff would be similar. And so that is really just knowing what your roles and responsibilities, prioritizing work, listening to your council or your board to kind of, make sure that you're staying within that focus. Yeah, a lot of stuff does drop off because we are such a small staff and we have like so many things to do all the time. And so you're never gonna be able to quantify it with an exact amount of time. That's why we use the 40-hour work week standard, and they just know that these are the requirements that they have to get done during that time. I don't think you're ever gonna be able to go 7 hours doing this, 3 hours doing this, because it's such a flexible position.
And the second part of this, to that was just, like, they've been without a DDA director for a year now. So imagine if we didn't have Lisa for a year. We hired somebody, they'd be non-stopping it for probably 4 or 5 months.
Does anyone have any further comments?
I had the floor.
Would you like to get to it, because we're not supposed to be going over historical decisions?
I'm not going over historical decisions.
Okay.
I said that we haven't had a DDA director for over a year. So let's not concern ourselves with the dual role part right now. Let's not concern ourselves. Let's just get a DDA director and let them know when they come in for that. Okay, we might do a dual role down the road, but right now we just need a DDA director.
Okay, and you had a comment on this, you said?
That's what I was trying to say, is that let's just make sure we do the dual role.
Okay, any further comments on this?
I have a quick question. So in regard to the shall be eligible to participate in municipal retirement and insurance programs, so does that mean that can be in kind? Or, I'm saying, it does say shall be eligible, so I'm just asking for.
So that we can, it's allowed, the reason the language is in there is to allow MERS, because MERS otherwise, like for our retirement system, would not allow someone that is not a village employee to be part of it. So the reason the language is in there is to allow them to be eligible
Sure.
to participate. There are many DDAs throughout the state that do not provide any kind of retirement or healthcare services.
Fair.
I know, gray areas can be places for a lot of contention. They're there for our benefit, or we can use them and twist them against each other. Gray areas have a purpose. That's why things aren't spelled out specifically, so that it doesn't lock us into things or lock us out of opportunity. And I think that that's one of those situations right there.
Sure.
Any further comments on the contract?
Just clarification. So I feel like everybody is talking about maybe revisiting this in a year. So
That's
is
not
that
my
not the
consensus.
consensus?
No.
Okay.
No, I just picked a date.
I don't feel like that was the overall
So-
consensus.
I thought I heard that also, and I didn't think that was fair to your DDA director.
Right.
If you go just one role DDA director, I don't think revisiting it in a year is fair to that person.
Well, the average span of a director is what, 2 to 4 years? So, I mean, when we're interviewing, we could maybe inform them that we are potentially going to move in this direction, just to kind of, but I don't think that, I mean, at this point, I think we should just hire a director, and then later on, maybe we could revisit it, if our director leaves, or, I mean, it doesn't have to be a certain, like, I don't know where a year came from, but.
My hope for you guys is you find a cool DDA director that wants to stay around for a decade.
That's what I'm hoping. I'd
That'd be
like to
great.
talk to Milford and find
I'd
out
like
what
him
they're
to
doing
step
right.
into Tim's role when he leaves. DDA director often moves into a village manager job.
That's
Or
fine.
maybe an assistant if you would get to the point where we can have that.
And I will say that the people that I have talked to that were interested, they were interested like, hey, they were interested if it could be like an economic development that was a /village role or /assistant role because of that natural transition. Because a lot of the people that are looking to do DDA are looking for a village manager role or a city manager role, and part of the qualification is they have to serve as an assistant city manager or an economic development role or something. So that's why having it as that title on there is an incentive. And I think as far as duration, when we're talking about a year or whatever, I think the duration is whatever the term of your So if you do a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract, that's the point at which you renegotiate or look at
It's
how we change the rule.
And I think that, you know, you have if we get a really good person in here, it doesn't mean that you can't add to their responsibilities. I mean, how many times in my career did they say, okay, this was your job, but we're adding this? And you hope that there's some raise coming with it. I mean, that happens to all of us, right? I mean, so it doesn't mean that we couldn't, you know, add some responsibilities to them and give them a bump, you know, at that point, if we really think that they're doing a great job.
So we're all on the same page on the duration.
So just, am I condensing down our verbiage so it's not such a long read then?
Yeah.
And then, should we maybe take our mission statement off of here? Cause that makes, I mean, we could always give that to them separately.
We could.
You know, if they get selected for an interview, we could send them maybe a little.
Is it inappropriate thing to add a website address?
That's what I was wondering.
Because then they can go and study up the mission and vision themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of
yeah.
our candidates did. They
Do,
looked at,
yeah.
they looked at the websites, they looked at our social media, they look at all that.
Do you wanna be specific on how long this contract is for on here? Do you wanna be specific to say it's like a 1 year or 2 year?
Well, we have a contract that our board approved, and it's at will, it's not.
Yeah, it
It
didn't
doesn't
a
have,
certain
it doesn't
time.
specify.
Any input on the incentivization of, did I pluralize that word? That's not a word either. Is that an incentive to have an at-will contract versus a 1 year, a 2 year, a 5 year contract? Thoughts?
I've always been at will.
What's
Yeah.
your input as someone that's in this kind of field?
You know, I mean, at will is, you know, can be risky for them. You know, I would, you know, as a manager, no manager would do an at will contract. They would do, no, it's always like 2 or 3 years at least. You know, because, and it usually has, all right, and then there'd be a 6, like mine, you know, be a 6-month buyout, and if you were to, and it would have to be at a certain amount of votes. Because the problem is, because with a DDA board or a council board, you don't know, like, you're signing up for the current council, but you don't know what the next council is gonna be and all of that. And so you want some kind of like stability in the
Oh, I
position
see
and
what
all
you're
that.
saying.
Okay.
So,
So maybe that's something that could be revisited when you find a solid candidate. You know, if some of the applicants say, oh, I'd really rather have a contract, well, that's totally possible. Maybe we can reconsider that after the probationary
You
period.
could
Yeah,
find more
there'd be a-
contracts though. You could, I mean, you could find more good candidates if you already have that incentive there.
I just wouldn't wanna have to pay somebody for 2 years of a 3-year contract if we decided that they weren't working out.
No.
So I don't know how you protect yourself from that, but I don't know. I've always been an at will.
we can look at,
Mission's an at-will state, so.
But I understand what you're saying, what
I do
the
too.
next.
especially if someone's gonna move here for it, you know, that's, which we'd hope they would be within the
I
area.
think right now everyone feels rather fragile, and so maybe just starting off with contract is just where we should stay for now is kind of what I'm seeing from some faces.
Well, I just feel like talking about the contracts, kind of putting the cart before the horse, you know, personally. Let's get some people apply, like, let's, you know, move forward. I'll revamp this, or what I would like to see, revamp this to, you know, condense it down some, reword the ending, and, get the job posted and get some people applying, you know? See what we get, because, I mean, the first time, in the past, we've had, you know, some not very good candidates, and hopefully we'll get some qualified people.
Yeah, and so if I'm understanding right, you can like shorten this down and write and more, and then we can have like a better description for them available to read upon,
For example, when you're talking about mission statement, you can just have, like, we would expect someone to be familiar with the mission of the Holly DDA.
Right.
And
Right.
for them to go to the website, understand all the questions that, you know, you might present there.
Which most people do that.
I have a
level
point
of
of
research, too.
clarification. If we change the salary range in the job posting and we haven't changed the budget, are we gonna get ourselves into trouble?
And
Because
you'd have to do a budget amendment before you have a signed contract. You can do a posting.
you can do a
But
posting,
you can
but
do a
just
posting,
not the
but you
signed
can't-
contract.
You have, before you sign a contract, you would have to have a budget amendment
Okay.
approved.
Okay.
Before
That
we do it.
don't make very much sense to me. you're gonna get this much money, you know, but then, oh, well, we gotta wait to get it approved first.
Well, they don't need to know that.
I mean, they have to approve the contract as well, so
Yeah.
it might be part of.
Maybe I'm not fully understanding, you know. What you're saying.
I'm saying if to expedite it, I mean, ideally you would budget for it and have it all done before the fact, but if you wanted to do it and then do a budget amendment, you know, before you sign the contract, but before you like obligate those funds, you have to have them, before you obligate, as far as signing a contract, we would have to have a budget amendment for it, so.
Okay.
But we don't know what that salary is gonna be until we do
I just want to make sure that we aren't going to get in trouble by going out with a salary that we don't have budgeted for. That's all. But if you're saying it doesn't have to be.
and as long as council says, I mean, as long as you feel like council's gonna approve it. The increase.
Well,
That's
you know,
already my comment.
Yeah,
So maybe we could just be, we could put up to X amount of dollars pending, you know, obviously it's based on experience and.
Qualifications.
Yeah.
Up to is a great.
Up to.
or starting
Up
at
to.
here, and then
Yeah,
it allows for negotiation.
up to, because then you're not locked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Or what about maybe a sign-on bonus?
Jerome?
No,
I was just gonna say that we approved this budget, I mean, this salary amount based on what our budget we felt could afford and what we felt based on our other research on neighboring DDA directors. So if we're keeping it a DDA director, which is what I hear we're doing, I don't, unless we get somebody really talented, I don't know why we really need to raise it that much more. I mean, he's already got candidates in the wing waiting to apply right now.
as is, so.
Did they know the amount?
I mean, I provided, like, both the, or just, I mean, this one that we were talking about, like, that we are talking about now, the previous one, and I said that we were looking at doing these other things, but, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about you, but I felt we had a hard time getting good qualified people.
So I'm not opposed to it, I'm just asking.
Did the candidates that you have, were they just for strictly DDA or were they for the dual?
There was no, like, I said that it's a DDA position, however, we're looking at this as well. Some of them had expressed, like, one of them was an actual, like, village manager from the other side of the state that, like, grew up over here, that was interested, but they were interested to come work with me, kind of thing, right? That's why they wanted to come over here. That person's now a city manager in.
I'm gonna be very blunt here. I read the 20 applications from the last round. 16 of them had 0 qualifications.
Point of
Yeah.
order.
0.
I know.
Yeah, that was part of the
We'll
whole.
bring it past.
Oh, yeah,
Point of
sorry,
order.
sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to get qualified candidates. It is.
So yeah, I think it should go up. I would support that personally. I think that's a great idea.
Well, let's bring it up on Thursday.
Okay.
To reference to your guys for the budget thing, I just did a fast Google search. The average salary for a DDA director is $67,495
In what state?
in Michigan,
Average.
average. That's what it says here. They can go anywhere from 30 to 100 grand.
The problem is that we get compared to Oakland County, we get compared to, like, we're not necessarily getting compared to,
We don't need to be compared to Ferndale.
yeah,
We
yeah.
don't need to be compared to West Springfield.
Right.
And we don't need to be compared to the UP.
That's what I was just gonna say, Mark.
I'm just saying, so we had somewhere the
Yeah.
ballpark area number to look at.
Okay. Let's see, is there any further discussion from the working group? Okay, then this is a call to the audience for public comment. At this time, members of the audience may address the working group. Those addressing the working group will be limited to 3 minutes. Did you bring your timer?
I did.
Good.
Good.
You're welcome.
So they will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. The working group will hear all comments for future consideration. The working group will not have a response at this time. Working group, please hear that. The working group will not have a response for public comment at this time. Prior to addressing the working group, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. Any public comment? Ms. Manson?
Anna Matson, 150.
It's not on.
Anna Matson, 15091 Western Valley. So going through old news articles, I actually found one from 2003 that said, new position casualty of village budget cuts. In this case, the last in was David Plews, who was hired as a community development director in March. His position was eliminated at the May 27th village council meeting. So this is pre-2008. So I'm glad that we're moving in the direction of just a DDA director, because the village is broke, and I would hate that the village, you know, go in on this partnership and then have to cut, because you guys have to budget like within this next 6 months. And as a village resident, I've been really disappointed that there hasn't been talks about what we're going to do about our budget. I've just seen increase after increase after increase, spend, spend, spend. That's all I'm seeing. And I wish the amount of effort you put in today to try to increase your budget, you would put that effort to try to decrease. You know, it's also hard because when you guys were hiring a village manager, I heard over and over and over again, we want someone to do grants. We want someone to do economic vitality. So you hired our village manager with that intent. So if it's a time issue or he's not performing that task, that's a different conversation that the DDA doesn't need to be a part of. You guys need to talk to your employee about that. So as a citizen, I would like a report on what grants have we tried to get? Do we get any yet from our village staff? So these are the things, like, the village has its own problems, and you guys really need to look outside the box instead of just going after the DDA's money, because that's all this looks like to me. And one thing that wasn't brought up, I don't know why, in previous council meetings, I'm pretty sure the DDA offered to buy the depot. So it's like, if you guys need revenue, there you go. Like, let's have those discussions, you know? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manson. Public comment? Do I see a hand?
Yeah.
Angela? Go ahead.
I have no skin in the game. I'm not on council. I'm not involved with anybody from, oh, sorry, Angela Wallace, 709 Baird Street. Sorry, thank you. I have no skin in the game. I'm not a DDA person. I'm not a council person. I'm just a regular person in the community looking, and I can understand why nobody trusts anybody up here. After this meeting and hearing, well, we want this, and then we want this, there's definitely two sides that are drawn. And I, as just a person, I'm tired of being like, are you on the side of the DDA or you're on the side of the village? We just heard the village, a village, a village, a village. We didn't hear any, like, work together. There's no working together in this group. I did not, I'm sitting there going, there's no working together. My question from the DDA, I went to the ladies' night. I heard one business person say, I hope people come down here and they don't just come down here for the free bags, and I hope that they spend their money down here. Well, that's great, but give us a reason to spend our money. There was no sales. There was nothing to draw people like me in. I did not feel welcome down there at all, zero. Also, when I was looking through the bag here that they gave away, and I have one, the only advertisements in here are for people in a 2-block radius downtown. Like the passport was literally for Maple Street, Broad Street, Saginaw Street, and Battle Alley. There was nothing that said, go to Midtown, go to Uptown. There's nothing. There was not one advertisement for anybody from Uptown. There was one advertisement in here from a Midtown. That's it. The rest of them were that one block where all of you guys who are on the DDA are owners. So it really looks like from, and this is just me looking on the inside, that you're all only, you're not there to make the DDA better, you're there to make your businesses look better and to get money for your own businesses. I have no skin in the game. I don't, you know, y'all's businesses are your businesses. Some of them I come to, some of them I don't. I'm telling you what I see looking as a personal person looking in. I'm tired of, I can't be friends with Amy Hillman
and friends with April, and friends with Hillary, and friends with Amber. I'm tired of feeling like that as somebody from this community. I'm tired of the discord. I'm tired of the fighting. And that's all I hear. If I talk to Amy, somebody's saying, oh, well, I guess you're not on Team April. Or if I talk to April, God forbid, I can't be friends with Amy Hillman. And I try to be friends with everybody in this room, everybody. And I don't feel like I can be that with you guys.